Hey there, Apple Valley. Are you tired of feeling like decisions are being made for you instead of with you? Do you ever wonder what the town council is actually voting on, or why that new development is suddenly popping up next to your favorite spot? Well, welcome to the High Desert Insiders, the podcast dedicated to pulling back the curtain on our local government and the issues that truly matter right here in the High Desert. I'm your host, Scott, and every week we're diving deep into the heart of Apple Valley politics and the High Desert. We're not here for the drama, we're here for the discussion. And this week we have an awesome episode. We're talking to Matthew Rutledge. He's running for town council in District 4 here in Apple Valley. Just talking to him about what his interests are, what he thinks he would change, things we're doing good, and things we need to improve. And big issue here, transparency. So this is where your voice gets heard, your questions get answered, and we all become a little bit more informed and engaged residents of the High Desert. So whether you're passing by the iconic Apple Valley Golf Course or waiting for the light on Bear Valley Road, tune in. Let's get the real story. Let's make a difference. The High Desert Insiders starts right now. Well, welcome to the show, Matthew. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing good, and loving this kind of rainy-ish weather here.
I am too. It feels good.
So I got connected to you on Facebook, and because you've lived up here for a number of years, almost 11, right?
Correct. Yes.
And you are running for election to Town Council District 4. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. So you. We'll talk about your previous campaign in a minute here, but what really wanted, I mean, it's a volunteer effort basically, or it should be. What made you want to run for town council? What do you see, that's like that could be done better in the town? What kind of things would you like to work on it when you're elected?
Well, I originally wanted to run for town council because I would attend town council meetings. And I would hear that there were people that were having issues being ignored, or they would bring up an issue to the council, and the council would say, "Hey, I'll get back to you," and nothing would ever happen. I remember actually talking to somebody and asked them, "Hey, did the council ever get back to you?" Just because I was curious, and they said, "No, they didn't." I said, "That's not right at all." But I also wanted to run to make a difference in my community because, as somebody of a young age, as myself, I'm open to ideas and I'm open to listening to people, and I want to be I want to be that voice for the people that feel that they're not heard at all. And, going through that, being in town council, I want to be the one where they can go, "Oh, hey, he works in my district, or he works for the town. Let's talk to him and see what he has in mind." Because I'm willing to, talk to people. And then finally, the reason why I wanted to run was because my mom actually experienced issues, with the council. In the past, when we moved up here, Barb Stanton was on town council at the time, and my mom brought up an issue because my mom is physically disabled and uses a wheelchair, and she was trying to find out, how could she get to work, because we live down from Lakewood up to here, which is a completely different change in pace of life, to where we went to the town council meeting. Barb she was either mayor or council member, if I remember correctly at the time. I don't remember which. But my mom had asked her a simple question of, "Hey, is there accessibility arrangement?" And Barb Stanton was pretty rude to my mom. So it's like, not only am I doing it because I want people's voices to be heard, but I also want people to know that their concerns are actually, being met, because, I face them daily, obviously, as a resident, but my mom also faces them daily as well. If she wants to, go to the grocery store in her wheelchair. The roads aren't that great, and they're not always that safe for somebody in a wheelchair to travel. So, I want to be that voice. I want people to know that, hey, somebody's actually listening to you. And if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, I can't say the words that they would say, going around the issue, that's not me. I'm a person of integrity, and I'm a person of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something we need. And I think I think anyone who lives up here would agree that transparency is an issue with the town council. I
Definitely.
mean, yeah, you could pull up the budget reports and the warrants and all that stuff, right? But we bring up issues. At least when I've been there the last few, except for the very last one, we'll ask issues, and they just hide behind the Brown Act. And I get the point behind the Brown Act,
Yeah,
but I think they use it as a shield more than anything,
I do too.
unfortunately. And so, with that transparency issue, whole topic being very important to us, what are your thoughts on that? How would you feel? What would you do differently when you're elected?
What I would do differently if I was elected is the Brown Act. Yes, we obviously have to follow the law, but what I would do is I would wait till the council meeting was over and say, "Hey, I heard about your issue. Here's my number. Here's my email. Give me a call." Email me and I'll see what I can do. Obviously, because in the moment you can't always speak about it, but they never say, oh, you can't talk to somebody before or after the meeting about an issue. Of course, as long as it's not a closed item issue, closed session issue, you can speak about it.
Yeah,
So, if it's on the council at the time of hey, if I'm allowed to speak, say, hey, I do hear your issue. Thank you for letting us know. And then, of course, after the meeting's over, as long as we don't have closed session, even if we do, I could, go over to the person and say, hey, write down my phone number, write down my email, whatever it is, hand
yeah.
it to them and say, hey, give me a call.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's huge, right?
Yeah.
I know that I tried to find the best in people, right? Even the current council members.
Yeah.
And I know Mayor Nassif is, oh, we're going to do town halls, and unfortunately, he said that before, though. And how many town
Yeah.
halls did we
Yes.
have this year? I don't know if we had any, to be honest.
I honestly don't think we had any.
Um, and I think my problem is I've talked to Carrie, and I have my own personal we'll call it issues with that to stay out of legal trouble.
Yeah.
Because she was a realtor and we bought our house. But she made a comment, and I don't know if you saw that. I believe it was David Denker, if you've talked to him or seen him on Facebook, about the
Yes.
budget, right? And how she basically said on Facebook, like, hey, we've had a shortfall, but we're balanced. Like, well, that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. And
No,
then
it
she'll
doesn't.
talk about how well they've used the reserve of the town to balance the budget. Like, that's terrible. But then people go to ask her about that in the meetings in the town council, and she says, well, I can't because it's the Brown Act. It's like, well, that's not the point of the Brown Act.
Yeah.
The point of the Brown Act was to say, hey, like, we're not holding any secret meetings, right?
Right.
Was the whole point, is to keep the public informed, not to keep things from the public. And
Exactly.
I'll tell you, like, I've invited her onto this podcast, and she like, oh, I'll wait till next year, kind of grumbles about it. Like, same
Yeah.
thing with Mayor Nassif. Like, well, thanks, I appreciate that, but not. So,
Right.
but with that being said, I mean, so with the budget, since we're on that kind of topic, right? Obviously we have a shortfall, right?
Yeah.
KFC lunches excluded. I mean, with inside joke there, just follow the pages if you're listening. But budget, there's a budget shortfall, and we're kind of pushing it off and pushing it off. What are your thoughts and general topics? I know you don't, you're not there yet, but what kind of things would you change or do to help alleviate that budget shortfall and keep that reserve for sometime when we actually do need it?
I would see what we could do with Measure P funds to start off with, because that's extra money that we have that we can potentially use. I would look at, okay, are we really excessively spending where we don't need to spend?
Yeah.
Because I know, as you said for KFC, I know we're not talking on that topic, but for KFC, if it were me, I'd be like, hey, I can go get my own food. Let me just pay for it myself, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Because it's like, I get it. It's free. And as a teacher, we've had food catered at our schools, but there's times that we pay for it, and it's like, why, why accept something when you can spend your own money on it, but
Yeah.
finding ways to not excessively spend on things that's outrageous, um, maybe using more locally owned businesses, family owned businesses, save some money within the town, use your resources. Because I have noticed that the town likes to go out of the community and get contracts from other cities and other companies, try going in the town first. Talk to companies within the town, see what can be done to save money. I've learned to save money for since I was little, and you don't spend money when you don't have it. And even if you do have it, you only use it for when you do need it. And if you don't need it, you just save it.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of things that the town could do, and unfortunately, I mean, you've been at town council meetings more than I have, where everything gets rubber stamped. Basically, I don't know if I've seen, watched, been to a town council where they've had any disagreeing opinions on a vote. It's all been unanimous every single time I've seen. But
Yeah.
I mean, you get things like the Sing Center. I don't know. For anyone who's not doesn't know this backstory, the Sing Center. It's the old movie theater at Central and Bear Valley. They got the town was quote unquote given the center, but they've had to do a lot of renovations to it. So spent a ton of money on it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Sing Center in general?
I think with the donation, that was nice and it was great, but could the town really afford to keep it up? Because when something's donated to you, you of course accept it in the condition that it's in. And, what I would have done is as a town, I would have looked at it and said, okay, what needs to be fixed? And what I would have done is with the property owner, obviously property owners generally have money. I would talk to the property owner and say, hey, this needs to be fixed and this needs to be fixed and this needs to be fixed. Can we work on a deal before we're donated this building? That way, donation doesn't go to waste, because I know that they were talking about, the roof needs to be fixed or it was leaking pipes need to be fixed, what have you. And I would have told the property owner, we'll gladly accept the donation, but we need to make sure that these issues are fixed first before, you give us this building.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great idea. And unfortunately, I think they just looked right past that. Like, oh, free stuff. Let's get it.
Exactly.
So along with something you mentioned there briefly in a minute or two ago is Measure P, right? So Measure P has been kind of a huge topic because we got all these funds and there is supposed to be these civilian oversight committees and I don't, and you could probably inform me better. You might probably are very much more informed on this than I am, but the lack of oversight when there was promised to be oversight.
Right.
And I know we are, funded more deputies, 8 more, which is awesome. That's a huge win for the city, but like there's a ton of other money. And I feel like the civilian there's supposed to be oversight, but there isn't, and I think a lot of people are feeling gypped by it. I don't know what your thoughts on Measure P or PR and maybe what your plans for that, when you get elected.
Yeah, I feel gypped by it too, because that oversight committee that they said they were going to have, I actually filled out an application 3 times to be on that committee, and I was denied every single time. So I think that was outrageous. And the fact that every council member, and I did mention to them, I said, hey, just to let you know, look out for my application. I put in for it. Okay, great. Yeah, we'll look out for it. But then to find out that the council members approved people that they already knew or had some kind of connection to them, that's not okay. That's favoritism. And that's not right at all. And as far as I know, I think it's illegal in some circumstances. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But personally, from my standpoint, applying for 3 times for that committee and being denied, and I have no connections to the town council whatsoever at all, is not okay. It's very frustrating, and so their quote unquote advisory committee, I don't really think it's an advisory committee at all. I think it's just okay. For example, Carrie wants this. Okay, I'll do it. I worked with her before. Or Larry wants this, and whoever he chose. Oh, I know him. Yeah, I'll put it in for him. You need somebody who's unbiased, somebody that knows essentially nothing about the council except for that they work for the town.
Yep.
But somebody like myself. I'm impartial. I'm unbiased. Choose me. Like I will actually look at, is it worth it to have these things being funded by Measure P if we truly need them.
Yep. And I get it, right? I get part of it. I get like, okay, they know them, these people, right? They can
Yeah,
trust, quote unquote, they can trust these people. At least that's what they're going to say, right?
right.
Like, how can you vet like other people that they don't know? All right, cool, point taken. But exactly what you said, right? Is that like the point of that advisory committee is to be a secondary group who is not connected to the town council, who is not paid for by the town, so that they can give an unbiased opinion. And when it's your people, how are they actually going to give an unbiased opinion when they're all connected to the town council? It
Exactly.
just blows my mind.
Yeah, it
It
blows
blows
my
my
mind
mind.
too. It's
And you
frustrating.
know, and with that, I mean, like the town, I heard a stat, and I haven't verified all of these numbers exactly, but I'm pretty sure they're accurate, is that the average like tenure of the town council members right now is something like 13 years on average.
I
And
believe so. Yeah.
you know, with some of them being there longer than that, by the way, and some being, you know, shorter, but still, like, I mean, I go back to when I was dating. So my wife grew up here in
Mhm.
Apple Valley, right? I'm not from here. And we got married in 2007, left, went to the military, came back because family was here, not necessarily by choice, but trying to make it the best we can now.
Yeah.
And when we were here in 2007, some of the same town council members were here. Like that blows my mind. It's like, so why would someone, when you're getting paid, I think the number is like 48,000 a year. If I'm not, I could be completely off on that, but I think that's the number I saw, right?
Yeah.
48,000 a year for a council member. Like, why would they continue to do this
Yeah.
for
I agree.
30 years? I think one of them has been here. Like, why? Maybe because they're making money on the side from some of these deals. I don't know. That's just a thought. You don't have to answer that, but just my own thinking here. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's an interesting choice. I feel like.
It is. I agree.
And then I think the thing that a lot of people don't, I think people just don't know how to get involved. You know, I got involved a year or so ago when one of the Hit brothers, I think Chris Hit, tried to build the gas station at Central in Wallu.
Mhm.
And he basically came up at the end of the planning commission meeting and said, "I'm pulling my app. Like, sorry, I know I've wasted now millions of dollars on this, but sorry, no one wants it, so I'm done." Right.
Right.
And so I kind of got involved then. And then when this whole truck parking lot, which we'll talk about in a second, started happening, I actually got involved in it a lot. And I think people are just a little clueless about the town government, right? And
Mhm.
the fact that the planning commission is just a advisory thing, really. They're all volunteers. The town council, who gets the stuff after the planning commission, they don't have to abide by what the council says, or the commission rather. You know,
Right.
I think it's an interesting government, and I think people need to get involved. And so I'm curious what your thoughts on what you would tell people who like find some of these topics, see, hey, I really, this is interesting. How would I get involved? So what would you say to them, people who are just finding out about some of these issues and thinking, hey, I'd like to get involved, but don't know how?
I would tell them obviously go to council meetings, reach out to the council members of the town, and if it's an issue that you don't happen to like, let your voice be heard. You know, whether it's putting up, appropriate signage, protesting the idea. You know, I'm okay with signage and things like that. But if you want to get involved, talk to the town, talk to your neighbors, see what your neighbors think about it, because everybody has differing opinions. But
Yeah.
go to the town, email council members because I know they do have email. Um, Call them if there's any way to personally call them. But just go to council meetings, let your voice be heard, and even talk to the council members when you see them in the community. Don't be afraid to go up to them and say, "Hey, this is what's going on. I don't like it." For example, Kurt Emmett, he's a pharmacist, and I have seen people go up to him, obviously, not when he's on the clock, but,
Yeah.
go up to him and say, hey, there's this issue going on in town. What can be done to fix it? And I've even gone up to him too and spoken to him personally about, issues I've seen. But yeah, just talking to them, they're people too. Yes, they make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but they're people too. Just go out, talk to them, see them in person, stop them, talk to them.
Yeah, I would say that that's also a good idea. And I will say, so I've to pile onto that a little bit, right? Maybe this is something you can make a change on. I don't know if you wish to or not. It's up to you. But I actually had been trying to reach out to the council members, right, to have them on here, right, to let that, like, try and give a two sides to every story type of a thing,
Right.
and trying to find how to get a hold of them was almost impossible. So on the town council website, it doesn't list any contact info at all. So I had to like Google their phone numbers, which is totally creepy. I know, but like,
That's okay.
they're public officials. So I was like, it's okay, whatever. But and looking them up on Facebook too. And that's how I got a hold of Mayor Nassif and Carrie, and I was able to talk to them on their like via text. Which texting with Scott Nassif is a lot of fun, by the way. He hates technology.
Yeah.
So, and so it was impossible to it took a lot of work to get in contact with them. And especially if Carrie Leone is I will say this, in my district area representative, I technically live in the county by like 100 feet. So that's why I didn't run. Otherwise I would have. But, so she's in my area up here in District 3. I couldn't get a hold of her to save the life. It took me like an hour or two's worth of work to get a hold of her.
Jeez.
So yeah, that was frustrating. And
I bet.
I also would love to talk to Carrie about how I'd love to talk. Well, I'll say this, backtrack on that is I'd love to look at the rules and see what are the rules of when and how you can run for town council member, right? Like, do you have to just own property up here, or do you have to live up here? Because I have a feeling, I won't name any names, but there are people who own property in the districts that they supervise, but they don't actually live in the city or in the town, actually.
Yeah. From running actually back in 2022, I can answer that question. You just have to live within the town, and you just have to be of age to run. I think they told me it was 18 or 21 to run, if I remember correctly. But you just have to live within town. I don't own property. I don't, own anything. Go ahead with your question.
Would owning property in the district limits like count? Because I know, and I won't name any names, but I know one person who has property in the district that person, be careful how I say this, runs, but they live in Hesperia.
Yeah. No, because their voter registration would be in the city of Hesperia, because voter registration is based off the address that you live. Even if you own property in town, that's just a business. You have to have your own personal address in the system. Because when I ran in 2022, people would obviously sign their name and their address.
Yeah.
And take it to town council so they could verify the signatures to get me put on the ballot. And they would actually contact the county, and the county would say, okay, this one's good. They do live here. They're registered. They do live here. Oh, this one isn't good. They have a business address, but it's not within Apple Valley. They're not allowed to do it. They would have to vote in this area. So things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you just live within the town, it's usually how it goes.
Okay. Interesting. Well, that's a topic for another date then. Something more to look into, I guess. But so it's something I touched on briefly, and I'm curious about your quick input on it. You may not follow it a whole lot because it's not in your district, but the truck parking lot, the Wallow Navajo truck trailer parking lot. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that, if you're aware of that whole everything going on there with the battle between the residents and the property owner?
Yeah, I'm very well aware of it. I don't just monitor issues within my district. I do my best to monitor issues in the whole town. So the town is obviously heard as a whole, not just my district.
I didn't do that on purpose, but that worked out well.
Yeah, no, you're good. But no, I'm against it, honestly, especially with the area that they want to put it in. The fact that it backs up to people's private homes and things like that, that's not okay. It does expose them to the diesel fumes and things like that, and it's not okay. I want areas where they're meant to be wide open and nothing on it. That's how I want to keep it, because the more that you add to stuff, the less desert we have, and the more that you're uh, just encroaching on people, and I'm just not for it, at
Yeah.
all. Now, if they put it out in the middle of nowhere where it wouldn't affect anybody, then I would have no problem with it. But they want to put it up near homes, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
People have the right to, live peacefully the way they want to in this desert. It's nice and quiet, and that's the way it should be. They shouldn't be exposed to, carcinogens and all of this stuff that could cause cancer and health issues and what have you. It's not okay. The town definitely should have, done a survey like they said they did, and I know they didn't. They just made it seem like they did. But actually talk to people and say, hey, we have this idea. What do you think about it? If the people are like, we don't like it, and if you get a majority saying that we don't like it, then don't do it. Find another place to put it,
Yeah.
But where they want it, that intersection is already busy enough as it is. You really think that 18-wheeler trucks or what have you, whatever kind of truck it may be, can be on that road? That road's gonna get as bad as some of the other roads I've seen out there. It's not gonna be able to be handled well.
Yep. Yeah. I 100% agree. And I think in order to protect the not so innocent, but I have a friend who I'll call him a friend. I go to church with him, and he knows Scott Himley. He I'll say that he knows Scott Himley well. I think he's friends with him, and he's basically told me that Scott is aware of the opposition and he just doesn't care. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Oh yeah, Scott doesn't live up here either. He lives down the hill, so he wouldn't care. It's just a business for him. So, but it's sad.
It
Sad.
is.
So, well, are there any? I mean, I'm just getting a start into town politics, right? But are there any other big topic issues that kind of you have a thoughts on, things you want to share about with people, as you prepare to get this 2026 election season up and running?
Yeah, I would say for transparency within the town, like I said previously, people are feeling that they're not heard. People find that the council isn't doing their jobs as were voted to do, and letting people know that if I am voted in this year, 2026, um, I am a person of integrity. I was raised to be a person of integrity. If there's something that I can do, I would definitely do my best to look into it and see what can be done. And if it's something that I can't do that's not within my power, then I will find what department or what agency or whatever manager person of whatever department it may be that can handle the issue. And I would follow up with that person till the job is done, and then follow up with the community member and say, hey, your issue was, addressed, taken care of. Please, when you get a moment, go take a look at it, whatever it may be that they brought up. Go take a look at it when you get a moment, and just let me know what kind of thing. And then the other one is with obviously how bad our roads are. I have found other methods that I don't think the town has looked at. Excuse me, at fixing our roads. I um, would definitely look into the issues, because my mom, like I've said, has gone out to go to the grocery store or where have you, and her chair has almost literally gotten stuck in some of these cracks and potholes and things like that. And that's definitely not okay.
Yeah.
You're saying, oh, we're going to fix the roads and we're going to do it by this time. Okay, well, don't say you're going to do it by this time unless you know for sure that it's going to be done. You don't just give out a random date, say it's going to be done. You need to make sure that everything is set in motion. You have the materials, you have everything ready to go. But the way that I found out about fixing the roads that they probably haven't looked into is there was a community in the UK that would actually cut out the potholes with a rotary saw, and they would actually fill it in, cut out the pothole, remove it, fill in that area of road, pat it down, do everything else. And it was perfect. I've seen where they fill the potholes, they take the material from the truck and just fill it in and just pat it down and call it a day. For me, I would be like, hey, let's look at this. Let's look at how a different country's fixing their roads and see what we can do to try and emulate that. Tell them, hey, look at this video. I might share the video. Public Works, what have you. Let's try this and see if this works, because you don't just put a band-aid on it, as they say, and say it's fixed and just move on about your day. You make sure that it's done right the first time, so you don't have to keep going back again and again just to fix it. It needs to be fixed right the first time.
Yep. Yeah, I think all too often we don't look at those type of things why would they? When they could just spend the money or just ignore it. But I don't know. That's my take. Well, Matthew, if is there any, I don't know if you have a Facebook page or an email group or anything where people can watch your progress, your campaign, anything like that we can plug here, and we'll put the link below if you do have it.
I don't have any links currently, but I am on the Apple Valley public forum group, as well as the Voice of Apple Valley, where I will be posting videos throughout the year. As a teacher, obviously, I have to post now and then, but I will make sure I get videos out there of the issues. I actually have a video that I'm going to be doing coming up about the animal shelter and how the animals are taken care of and what can be done to improve the animal shelter from what it is like now. I've worked in rescue personally for several years, so I know what it's like. And then I also have a Google Voice number. I can provide the number on here that people can call me on, text me on, and I will get to those phone calls and messages as soon as I can. They can call me or text me between the hours of 8 and 3. During those times, I am teaching, but they can still call me or leave a voicemail. And around 4 or 5 o'clock after I get off of work, I can respond to those. And my number is going to be 760-515-2608. And again, that's if anybody didn't get that, that's 760-515-2608. And if you see me out in the community and you have an issue that you feel that needs to be addressed, by all means, come up to me and speak to me. I'm willing to hear what you have to say. And I'm not on the council right now, but I can still, as a community member, put your concern out there and make sure that it gets addressed.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll put that number down in the comments or description for the respective platforms so people can reach that if need be. And give you a call, as well as the Apple Valley Town Forum page. So, well, thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate you coming on and joining me. I know you're a busy man, got a lot going on. So thank you for joining us. I wish you the best of luck as we start 2026, and I look forward to hopefully having you on as the election cycle continues and seeing how it's going. Things are going for you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yep. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of High Desert Insiders. We want to give a big thank you to Matthew Rutledge for joining us today and for shedding light on his campaign for District 4 of the Apple Valley Town Council. Remember that your involvement is what makes Apple Valley thrive. Don't let the conversation end here. You can find all the resources we discussed, including links to the Town Council agenda, down in the description below. We love hearing from you and what's on your mind, so please send us your questions, ideas for future topics, or feedback using the link in the top of the description on your respective platform. So thank you for spending your time with us and staying informed and being a High Desert Insider. Join us next week as we tackle another important issue for the High Desert. But until then, be informed, be involved, and have a great week.